But then there's this whole other piece
behind the backstage
of running the business.
Yes.
Which you can be the very best in the world at the craft, but if you absolutely suck at running a business like this guy, then unless you go out and hire somebody to do it, you're going to struggle.
Welcome to the whole wealth journey.
Wealth with a Y. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Are we spelling it funny?
No, I think it's
We're using the word Y.
The word Y, right?
Okay, good.
Not the letter Y, the actual word Y.
Well, I know why.
Why?
Because we want to help people get on their path. And the path is all about their why.
And it's about aligning your finances with the people, the experience, and the passions that give their lives true meaning.
It's getting way beyond the bank statements, the brokerage statements, the trust documents, the life insurance, and taking a deeper dive into your why.
Well, admittedly, we're not for everyone. This is different. We're for the bold ones who really want to dive deeper and seek a life that resonates with who they really are at their core, who finds value in vulnerability.
Well,
you and I do.
You and I do, and that's where we want to play, but not everybody is comfortable with that vulnerability.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves. What do you think?
Oh, that's a good idea. Jim Gebhardt.
And I'm Matthew Grishman. We are the co-creators of the podcast, The Whole Wealth Journey. Ready to find your why? Then let's get started and get you one step closer to unlocking your inner wealth and well-being. What are you grateful for today?
Well, it is much like your household a couple weeks ago, or last week and a couple weeks ago. It's birthday week in our house.
Oh, yeah. Birthday season is firmly upon us.
Yeah, we are squarely in it with 3 out of the 6 birthdays in the Gebhardt family, but 2 are back to back. And these are milestones. These are mega birthdays.
Okay.
18 and 21.
Oh, nice.
Jack is 18 today. Grace is 21 tomorrow.
Nice.
And I'm grateful I get to witness that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to just see how these 2 young kids of ours have morphed into now, you know, as Jack was kind to remind me this morning, he's an adult now.
Of course.
And I said, well, that is fantastic. I will transfer all debts and future bills to you.
Absolutely. So he's paying his own cell phone bill now.
Since you're an adult.
Right.
A funny tradition started a year ago with dear friends of ours. Their daughter was turning 21, whose birthday happens to be yesterday. And we caught wind of the fact that they were going to go. We have one bar in our town, and it's technically a saloon. This is actually one of the oldest businesses in Lafayette, and it's
the
saloon.
Roundup. Yeah, the Roundup.
The
Right.
Roundup.
I remember that place.
Not the weed spray.
Right.
So we caught wind of the fact that she was going to go, the daughter was going to go there precisely at 12 o'clock so that she'd be 21.
Sure. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
And go in for her first official
Atta-girl.
cocktail. Well, Beth and I surprised her, and we were inside the saloon.
Oh, nice.
When they were coming in, and we put our noses up against the window and did all that. Well,
Nice.
It's turned into a bit of a thing, so we're doing that tonight.
Ah.
So somehow I need to caffeinate myself, take a nap, exercise, eat all the above, so that I can be at the saloon precisely at midnight to, buy my daughter a cocktail.
Isn't the cocktail nowadays an espresso martini? Isn't that like the cool?
It is
what all the cool kids are drinking.
Yeah, that and the
so that'll get you awake
the
today.
Aperol spritz.
Aperol. Say that again.
Yeah.
Did you say Aperol spritz?
Yes, sir.
What's Aperol?
It's a liqueur of sorts. Very Italian in terms of its heritage.
Okay.
It's a syrupy kind of liqueur that you serve with champagne.
Oh, 2 of my...
And
that wouldn't have been on my menu.
It's a lovely summer cocktail. That tends to be one of the hot items right now.
Okay.
Along with the espresso martini.
Unbelievable.
But those are really not on my program, so we're going to...
Apple juice.
We'll do something else.
Yeah, a little Martinelli sparkling apple juice.
Maybe a Guinness, but Guinness on this side of the pond is horrible.
Yeah, a little too cold.
That's
Very
not
nice.
my Not
Very
my
nice.
thing.
Very nice.
What's on the gratitude wagon for you?
Oh, thanks for asking. I am grateful for the time I spent hanging out with all those wonderful people at Strategic Coach last week.
Nice.
You have been sharing Dan Sullivan's work with me for
a couple eons.
Just about 20 years.
Yeah.
almost 20 years. In fact, it'll be 20 years next year.
And if the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Well, we met because of this program.
We did.
And it's almost
Thank you, Shelby. I'm sure she's one of our devoted listeners in Colorado.
And yes, Shelby, if you're listening, I have so much gratitude for you and for Strategic Coach and how the desire to upgrade your thinking brought the two of you together and it created this. So it's almost like it was a little bit of a full circle event last week. I got some really good clarity on how this 52-year-old guy wants to spend his time. A little more clarity, right? And one thing I'm feeling a lot of gratitude toward, and I got a little bit of validation from this down there, was how we just kind of get to show up as ourselves now with what we do and how we live and how we've chosen to live. And what I mean by that is this word congruency. You remember those orange bands
we
had back in the day?
I'm sure I still have a few floating around.
I think we've got a couple of bags worth of them
good.
in the Roseville office.
Awesome.
So I'll resurrect them for our big adventure next week. There's something about just being the same person, whether I walk into a conference, whether we're sitting here in the podcast studio, sitting with a client, out in public, at home on my couch watching a baseball game. Just being that same person who's kind of comfortable in his own skin and doesn't feel like he needs to put different masks on based on where he's going. And to spend some time with some really, really incredible entrepreneurs last week, I didn't feel like the only one in the world who's trying to live this way. There's more of us out there.
Oh, there are.
And it was nice not feeling like an orphan for a couple of days and being able to explore this idea of what living a congruent life looks like and taking it deeper. So I have lots of gratitude for that and for how we get to live our lives.
Fabulous.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
And the gift will keep giving.
It will be. Well, when you become comfortable in your own skin, it's an incredible gift and it's a start. 52 years. And for the first time, truly for the first time in my life, I've shared this now a couple times. I think the last couple times we've been in here is I feel a level of just at peace with who I am. It's not perfect. I've got lots I'd like to continue to progress on, get better at. But I looked in the mirror, I don't know, a week or two ago, and it would be very easy to draw my attention to this lovely expanse called my midsection that I could very easily beat myself up over that.
Ah, yes.
But instead, I saw these really cool new lines in my shoulders that are starting to develop from the strength workout.
Oh, not tan lines?
Like these muscle. Well, I have tan lines, but they're lower because of all the golf you make me play.
Oh, I see.
These are like muscle lines up in my shoulders that I've never really had before. And
so did you get those at Costco or where'd you get them?
No, I got those at Lifetime Fitness. Thank you, Lifetime Fitness.
They sell them there?
Complimentary with your membership.
Oh.
If you pay your membership fee and you show up every day and you spend extra money, or I should say invest extra money a trainer.
Good boy.
When you invest extra money on a trainer and they give you an app that gives you the rest of your workouts for a week and you do those workouts, after 6 months of doing that, even if you still eat the way I eat, you start developing these lovely little muscles and lines in your body. And it felt good to see them.
Hear me now, listen later.
Exactly.
For our older listeners that remember Hans and Franz.
Hear me now, but listen to me later. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So it just a lot of gratitude for being comfortable in my own skin. And
even though there's less of it.
There is less of it. It's much more comfortable now that there's a little lesser of it. It never fails to amaze me at how we can extrapolate that into the world of money and finance, into the world of the entrepreneur. Like what does it mean to live congruently? What does it mean to be the same person no matter where you show up for you? Now, one of the applications to living congruently that I don't know about you, but it's been pretty cool to see in some of the entrepreneurs we've met is that the congruency spills over into the financial life. For me, I used to show up professionally, financially professionally, different than the way I showed up at home.
Yeah, I think we have 127 episodes about that.
Sure, exactly. When I really dial into that, though, the way I treated my finances at work versus the way I treated my finances at home were different. In the end, it all felt the same, but they were different. And one of the things I've enjoyed as you and I are getting to know more and more very successful business owners is watching the most successful have this congruency with how they manage their personal finances identically to the way they manage their professional finances. They run their personal finances like it were a business. There's congruency there.
The best ones do.
Well, come on. Are we here to talk about the shittiest ones or the best ones?
I unfortunately know quite a few that almost abdicate their personal finances. And certainly at times in my career, I was much the same because my personal finances really didn't matter.
Right.
At the end of the day, if the business finances weren't cooking. Because one fell to the other.
Sure.
Right? So if the lead horse in the race isn't performing and winning the race, with all due respect, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the personal finances don't matter.
They don't matter.
They matter, but there's not a lot I'm going to be able to do. When you're an entrepreneur, which is different than a salaried individual that has a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks.
Sure.
And you're worried about making payroll. You're worried about covering the rent. You're worried about making sure the health care invoices are paid for you and your employees.
So many people depending on you.
At the end of the day, there are times when there isn't always leftover scratch that flows to the personal finances.
Right.
Right? So, if you're listening to us today talk about this and you're in that situation, I know that pain.
Yeah.
And it's real, and don't try to hide it. And we could have a whole show on all the different ways people mask it. But the sooner you can start to move in the direction of, like Matthew's saying, in terms of, best-in-class behavior, that best-in-class behavior is going to run their personal finances with a similar thought process, methodology. Obviously, we're going to get into that today, as the business.
Yes.
In the kind of very overly simplistic way of a profit and loss statement and your balance sheet.
Right.
Your balance sheet being really no different than a personal net worth statement.
Right. Up till this point, we've gotten started on this whole wealth journey by just kind of setting the foundation, right? We've done that the last couple of episodes now. We're launching the whole wealth journey. We're going through the curriculum of what it takes to be that entrepreneur who gets their financial house in order, who recognizes how to create alignment with all of their financial resources and the things that matter most in life. And this is where it starts. So last time we talked about just some very basic things like, what does financial security look like? What keeps us up at night about money? And now we're kind of taking it to that next level of how we actually manage the personal finances. Do we run it like a business? Have we taken the time to see where we are, to measure where we are? Because every entrepreneur you and I have ever met has these incredible goals, these incredible visions. The ones that you and I seem to be most attracted to have visions and dreams of having massive impact, doing really incredible things for their tribe. And so to get there, we've identified a very necessary step in the whole wealth journey, which is figuring out where you are, knowing where you are, having complete clarity on where you are, and doing it in a way that's not judgmental. That's not saying I'm succeeding or I'm failing. I just am. This is where I am.
Mm-hmm.
We gather data, and now we decide what we need to do going forward, depending on what that data tells us.
Right.
So full disclosure before we get into this, if you're with us today and you're going to go through this with us today, the most important part today is to recognize what we're doing is about gathering information. It's not about judgment. It's not about, oh God, I've done a good job or I haven't done a good job. We got to take that, park it aside for a little bit, because today...
Oh, it's just going to get in the way.
Exactly. Today is an analysis day. It's about details. It's about uncovering where we are so that we know what needs to happen to get in motion to go forward. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to measure where we are and maybe what some of those next steps are on how to move forward, depending on what the results are, what you find out about yourself today,
Yep.
as we go through these things called building a balance sheet and looking at a profit and loss statement.
Sure. So what's a balance sheet?
Oh, that's a great question. I was going to ask you that question.
Okay.
I mean, a balance sheet, simply put, is a snapshot. It's a snapshot of where you are financially. It's a snapshot in time of what you have versus what you owe. And it gives you this thing called a net worth. What you're worth financially.
Right.
Based on numbers.
In a balance sheet, it's really going to be pretty simple in terms of what you would break down as what are called your current assets versus your long-term assets, your current liabilities versus your long-term liabilities.
Sure.
Right? A long-term liability would be something like your mortgage, right? A short-term liability might be something like you've got $5,000 on a credit card because you had surprise dental bills and holy smoly, we had to put that on a credit card. Current assets, cash in the bank, right? Traditional investments, longer-term assets that have equity like your home could be a long-term asset, right? It's not something you're planning to live on. You're planning to live in it. And, you know, for business owners that are going to understand the terms balance sheet and profit and loss, the balance sheet is really the equivalent in our world of a net worth statement.
Right.
Right?
Right.
A simple calculation of, like you said, what do you have? What do you owe? Take what do you have minus what you owe. There's your net worth.
Yeah.
And with our banking relationship, we have to do that like 42 times a year, it seems. No.
It's part of my gratitude. It does feel like we have to do it a lot.
It does feel like we have to do it a lot, despite we've evolved as a business where our relationship with the bank is more them encouraging us to borrow money.
Yeah.
Versus periods in the 07, 8, 9, 10, 11 range where it was, can we borrow some money?
Sure.
Thank God that ship has passed, but I wouldn't trade it for the world because it taught me so many incredible lessons that, have made us better entrepreneurs today. But the big thing about the exercise of going through and assembling that data to look at what do you have and what do you owe goes back to a very simple strategic coach concept that you learned 20 years ago, which is if you're going to measure your progress in something, you have to do it. The only way you can do it is to look in arrears.
Right.
Because otherwise you're trying to compare yourself to the horizon. You're chasing something you ultimately can never get to. And I'm sure as I'm saying these words, people are thinking to themselves, how that's felt, whether it's been a diet or some number in a bank account or, you can't get there. You just keep chasing yourself, and it's the horizon keeps getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. You can't get there. And when you start to do this exercise on a consistent basis, it is quite powerful. The wave of emotion that gets when you start to see the progress and you start to see the thing building. No different than your gratitude with, if you keep showing up at Lifetime and you keep walking up those stairs to the upper deck where all the weights are.
Right. All those clunky machines.
And you do them. It is remarkable the progress that happens over time, right?
Absolutely.
Same applies here.
Right.
No different.
And the most important thing in that process for me is I can very quickly get caught up in looking at all the specimens that walk around the gym and think to myself, my God, what a loser I am.
Right.
That I don't look like that yet.
Right.
And that's measuring progress out the windshield. It's measuring progress in advance of where I think I'm supposed to be. Oh, I'm supposed to look like that 32-year-old upside-down triangle shit brick house. But the reality is I don't. I'm not. I'm a 52-year-old, I don't know, what would you call me? Kind of life coachy kind of guy who helps people get unstuck disguised as a financial planner. I don't know. Something like that.
Do they look a certain way?
I don't know what they look like. It's very easy for me to get distracted when I see that. And where you have helped me immensely, which has given me the courage to keep showing up at the gym, which has given me the courage to keep going through the balance sheet exercise, is that we measure progress in arrears. I look at where I was a year ago, at 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a month ago, and I feel stronger than I was then. Progress. I love, love, love what Heritage Bank has asked us to do on a semi-annual basis, which is create a personal net worth statement. And every single time we do this exercise, every time we have done this exercise for Heritage Bank, I have been able to measure progress. Positive progress.
There you go.
Meaning the net worth goes up. The debts go down, the assets have gone up, the net worth goes up every single time we've done this exercise. It is one of the best feelings to protect my confidence that I've ever had as an entrepreneur.
Well, who doesn't like progress?
Well, so we love progress.
Right.
And one of the things that we've been taught our whole lives is how this idea of comparison is evil. It's the thief of all joy. Yet here's a place where comparison can be one of the most valuable tools for an entrepreneur to make progress in their life, because we're redefining how we use the tool comparison.
It doesn't take long to hop in your car and go somewhere and see somebody else's car or see somebody else's house or see somebody else's physique, right? The comparison is a thief of all joy is one of my favorites, because it's almost inescapable. You have to constantly remind yourself, no, I have no idea what's going on in their world.
Right.
I have no idea what they've had to sacrifice to do that.
Right.
That may or may not be a price I would have been willing to pay to have that thing or that body or that house or that car or that whatever.
You're comparing what you see on the outside to how you feel on the inside.
Right.
Which is a complete disconnect, right? Yet, since we first began talking about this concept here on the show, we're also starting to learn where comparison can be a valuable tool. There's two sides to the comparison coin. One is a very dangerous side, which leaves us feeling much less than. And then there's the measuring progress in arrears, where we're comparing ourselves
100%
to our former selves.
Yes.
And the very best entrepreneurs in the world that we've ever met, the very best athletes in the world we've ever met, the best performers in the world we've ever met, the people who have chosen to excel and be the very best at anything in this world have separated themselves by no longer competing against other people who do what they do. They only compete against themselves, and they compare themselves to the former version of themselves.
Yes, sir.
Which is awesome. So back to our regularly scheduled program of building the balance sheet here.
I feel, we've been talking about lifetime fitness and exercise and health and kind of stuff like that. I feel a different kind of exercise coming on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of exercise would you like to do now? We're going to do some push-ups and crunches?
This is going to be more of a writing exercise.
Ooh, so something that'll strengthen the grip a little?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I'm feeling.
Or maybe for me, it might loosen the grip a little bit.
Okay. That's cool.
Well, depending on what the writing exercise is.
Yeah.
We could be focused on strengthening the forearms, or we could be focused on becoming a little bit more aware of where our money is.
That will take time.
How many entrepreneurs have you met, before we get into the writing exercise, who've never actually sat down in their business and taken a snapshot of where they are, because they're just blowing and going?
Not many.
Not many?
Not many. Because you reach a point where the consequence of that is you don't have a financial statement, and subsequently you can't file your taxes.
Right.
Now, have I met entrepreneurs that have not filed taxes for a period of time? Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Those are not our ideal clients.
Right.
But yes, I have.
Yeah.
And I've tried to help coach them or counsel them on where they could go to get square with all that. Because really, there's nothing we can do for them in that condition.
Sure.
Right? That, as we've said on the show many times, is a classic triage situation, right?
Yep.
In a medical triage situation, you have to quickly assess, where is this patient bleeding out?
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't patch that quick, they're going to die.
Sure.
And this is a similar kind of, not similar in the obvious context of a medical emergency, but in a business emergency, if you can't stabilize the business and get square on your taxes and everything else, I mean, I'm thinking of one entrepreneur that we met that she owed over $300,000 to the IRS. Mm-hmm. And she was a sweetheart of a woman, and I desperately wanted to help her. And it was through a confluence of events that she wasn't trying to pull one over.
Right. I think she just referred us a client. She's a wonderful person.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And, in working with her CPA, I gave her some advice that the CPA found a bit shocking, and I'm sure any other financial advisors listening to the show would sound shocking, which was wipe out your IRA.
Wipe it out to
liquidate it, to pay the bill.
Right, to pay the debt, to pay the tax debt.
Get the monkey off your back.
Yeah.
Right? There is nothing worse than having that kind of hanging sense of dread over you. And she's a very high-performing entrepreneur. And I'm like, you've got to get, you are running record paces around the track. and you've got 100-pound ankle weights on you. I mean, we get these ankle weights off of you, and you're going to run like a thoroughbred. But that was pretty unconventional advice in the context of pay the penalties. Ultimately the IRS waived the penalty, but she still had to pay the income taxes.
Sure.
And she got that monkey off of her back. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside.
Whether you're an entrepreneur who's done the exercise of taking a snapshot of where you are or you're not, whether you're an entrepreneur who's done it before but it's been a long time, if you're an entrepreneur who does that for your business, or like you and me, we have somebody who does that for our business. You and I don't sit down and put our own balance sheet together and our own profit and loss statement. We've hired somebody who does that. Because remember, in any business, there's the craft of what you do, right? What you and I do in this world of financial planning, how we've had this kind of impact in the lives of entrepreneurs, especially those who want more from their money than more money, right? We've created this very unique offering of discovering wealth with a Y, right? And that's a craft. That's what we do. But then there's this whole other piece
behind the backstage
of running the business.
Yes.
Which you can be the very best in the world at the craft, but if you absolutely suck at running a business like this guy, then unless you go out and hire somebody to do it, you're going to struggle.
Well, I think Michael Gerber has sold a couple billion books on his E-Myth, which if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't read it, it is required reading.
That might be one of your book reviews.
It is absolutely required reading because ultimately...
Give us a synopsis.
Well, the long and the short of it is, I'll tell you about the electrician I met yesterday. As I said on the prior show, we've gone over to the dark side and we own a Tesla.
Yeah.
And we have to have a charger for that.
Shocking.
And we need an electrician to come to the house and put in a 220 to do the blah, 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 blah.
Everything you need to own a Tesla.
So electrician comes over and we get talking about a variety of things, one of which was he loves what he does. He loves solving problems. He works with a lot of realtors on homes that they're trying to get ready for market, and they come across a glockenspiel.
An electrical glockenspiel?
Yeah, and they're like, ha, da, da, ha, ha. And they call Cole, and Cole comes in and saves the day, right?
So he's a problem solver.
Yeah, I can smell him from 100 yards away.
Sure.
But he said, oh, man, if I didn't have my CPA, I don't know how to run a business.
Right.
I can't. I have no idea what this is all new to me. I'm only 2 years old, right? I said, well, you're no different than a toddler that's 2 years old. You're standing, you're walking around, and you're all goofy, and you have no idea what you're doing,
sure.
Right? And really, the E-Myth is much about that same fact. Is you get good at a craft,
yeah,
but then the backstage of all the mechanics of actually running the business, paying the bills, staying compliant, having the insurance, paying your taxes, quarterly estimates,
payroll,
right? Payroll, healthcare, HR rules and regs that change in our world in finance with the compliance rules that change on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
SEC, FINRA,
holy smokes.
Department of Justice, Department of Treasury.
While you may be good at the craft, if you're not good at the backstage, and certainly in the beginning, when you're a very small business, you're going to wear all those hats.
Right.
And
until you figure out very quickly.
Whether our dear friend Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach would be one of the first to tell you this, but you got to start getting those hats off.
As quickly as
you possibly can.
Yes.
And while I've also seen this hundreds of times with entrepreneurs, and I am much the same. They have tremendous allegiance and a desperate sense of relationship with those that kind of help them early.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to realize when it's time for an upgrade.
Sure.
And whatever member of your team, your backstage team, either internal or external, there are times when, in the same context we're talking about elevating your thinking, there are times you have to elevate your team.
Yep.
Right? And whether your CPA was your college buddy or your next door neighbor as a kid or your wealth advisor was a college fraternity brother or what, your insurance guy, your banker, whatever, those are very hard relationships to separate from. Believe me, I know it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
But in the evolution of the business owner, you have to keep upgrading your internal team and your external team.
Mm-hmm.
So we are very blessed that we have a wonderful internal and external team that helps us stay out of the danger path of all those, not filing your 941s. whatever the HR posters that are supposed to be
I'm
up,
still filing my 940s, let alone my 941s.
Right.
I mean, I'll get there, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just one more.
Okay, good.
So that whole E-Myth, it's a great read. It's a quick read. Go devour it.
Yeah, great advice. We might even have a link to the book, which, by the way, full disclosure, we get nothing for that referral. We've never met Michael Gerber, although one day we hope to. We just so believe in the work that he's done that we think it's such a great read that we're teeing that up for the tribe today. One of the things that's been great for me, having the internal team that helps manage the business, that manages the business. And then we have Heritage Bank that asks us to sit down once or twice a year and actually create this personal financial statement. I would have no idea how to do that if we didn't have the backbone within our team doing this in the business on a regular basis. What I'm grateful for is that I don't have to be a great business owner. I have to be great at the craft, and as long as I am able to go out and attract and find people who are great at running the business, we can solve the E-Myth, right? But as a business owner, I can't tell you how helpful it's been for me, right? You've always said our most important job is protecting each other's confidence as partners, as entrepreneurs trying to create massive impact. One of the coolest ways you've helped me protect my confidence is by teaching me how to sit down and write out a personal financial statement, create my personal balance sheet, and for just 30 minutes, a couple times a year,
Right.
make believe I'm a good business owner.
Right.
And so when I sit down and do this exercise, I can't tell you enough how much confidence that builds at the end of that exercise going into the next 6 months before I have to do it again. Now, I didn't have confidence the first time I did it.
Sure.
Because I didn't love what I saw.
Sure.
But the progress that we've been able to measure by looking in Arrears has been nothing short of remarkable. So, shall we tee up a little writing exercise?
I think it's a lovely time for a writing exercise.
Whether you have an iPad, a remarkable tablet,
A yellow pad,
a good old-fashioned yellow pad and pencil, here's the time to do it. Right now, if you haven't taken the snapshot in, 6 months,
sure,
then now is the best time to sit down and do it. We believe in this idea of the law of diminishing intent. So if you're saying to yourself, I want to listen to the rest
of Saturday.
Yeah, I want to listen to the rest of these guys. They're really entertaining me today, and I'll do it when the episode's over. Chances are you won't.
Yes.
And if you wait to do it on Saturday, you absolutely won't. With each day that goes by, your intent diminishes.
Yes.
So push pause. Sit down. Let's take a snapshot of where we are. On the left side of your paper, write down everything you own. From your house to your cars to your business to your
bank accounts,
your bank
brokerage
accounts, brokerage accounts,
401k, retirement accounts,
everything
529 plans, gold, silver, trinkets, whatever,
any asset you own. Left side of the paper, add it all up.
and what you think it's worth.
Yes.
Now,
Good.
there might be a little bit of, might have to go onto Kelley Blue Book or one of these websites to figure out what a couple cars are worth.
Sure.
They're not worth what you think they are.
Right.
Let's just get that out there.
You mean my 2003 Lexus ES300 is not not a collector's item?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It will be the Cars for Kids.
There you go. Very
Now
good.
that theme song's in my head. I'm stuck for that for the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Depending on how detailed you are, if you're somebody that, needs it to the second decimal place, I understand and respect that. That's not the purpose here.
Right.
The purpose is to get a quick sketch of what do you got in the bank? What do you have?
And brokerage assets,
Brokerage accounts,
business assets,
real
real estate assets,
real
yeah.
estate assets,
Simple.
all that.
Snapshot. That's
Snapshot
the left side of the
on
page.
the left.
On the right side of the page is what used to be some of my least favorite things to talk about that you have helped me think more favorably of the right side of the balance sheet, because the right side of it is what we owe. It's the debt. It's the liabilities. And we've spent enough time beating up some of the other money-talking heads out there that like to shame you for the debt that you have.
Oh, we're not going to have Dave Ramsey on the show next week?
I tried to get him, but he was really unhappy with what we shared last time about
Got it.
about his whole take on debt is evil.
Got it.
So if half your balance sheet is evil, it makes this an impossible exercise to go through, which I think might be part of the reason why so many maybe non-entrepreneur types have a tough time sitting down doing this exercise because they're listening to yahoos like him saying debt's evil, so I can't even look at it. We're going to suggest a different approach to looking at your liabilities.
Yeah.
You've said it before. Debt's only an issue if you don't believe in
the
asset, why you went into debt, right? So
Isn't home ownership one of the greatest dreams in the United States?
I love my mortgage. I especially love my 3 1/8% mortgage.
Sure.
So I love mine maybe more than most. I love my mortgage. I love my business. And I love the assets that are behind these debts that I now have.
Fortunately, there's no debt in the business.
Exactly. There's a little debt between you and me. I owe you a little bit, but that's different.
That's different.
I still believe in the asset that backs that debt. So on the right-hand side, you're going to list and write down, even if you're not where I'm suggesting you might be one day, and you don't feel as much pride about the debts that you have. Maybe there are some debts where you were living for a little while like, gosh, I'd look at my bank account at the end of the month and I'd kind of wonder where all my money's going.
Or went to Visa.
Exactly.
Went to Amex.
So let's get that on paper.
Yeah.
Let's write it down. And
all progress begins
by telling the truth.
There you go.
Now, if you've been with us on this journey for a little while, I'm guessing the debt on the right side of that balance sheet is going to be debt you believe in. If you're a little newer in the journey with us, you might have some scar tissue related to that debt. Like we said in the beginning of the show, let's take all of that judgment, set it aside, and let's just gather some data.
Right.
Push pause, left side of the page, everything I own, right side of the page, everything I owe, and then let's see what you got when it comes to that net worth.
Yeah, when I did that in 2008, there were brackets around the net worth statement. And for those of you that
tell
aren't,
us what that means, Jim.
For those of you that aren't familiar with what that means, that's the universal symbol for negative. That is a negative number, Bob. Also a red number.
Yeah.
Right. We like black numbers because that indicates profit in accounting terms. Red are negative.
Well, I thought green was profit and red was negative.
Nah, it's
black.
not in accounting terms.
Okay. See, I'm glad we have accountants.
And so when I go back and I look at my personal net worth statements from 2007 and 8, you talk about measuring some progress. I can't even begin to put into words what that exercise is like. And I have them all in the same folder in ShareFile. And I mean, I can't say I make a regular habit of it, but I could pick any of those years in there between 2007 and 11. And if I'm measuring backwards from 2023 to 2013, wow, it is cuckoo what's transpired.
That's beautiful.
And yet, you and I are broken records on this. I think the singular, if I had to boil it all down, the singular contributor to my success over that period of time, looking at that net worth statement, is I kept showing up. I kept showing up. When it was good, when it was bad, when it was ugly, when I didn't wanna, I've just kept showing up for pushing 20 years now.
Yep. One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Sometimes 1 hour at a time. I just got to get out of bed and get out the door today.
Right. The consistency is, and I don't really know what to contribute that to, but in looking back on it and reflecting on it, like, well, holy hell, how did I get through that phase with that overhang and that, that near tragedy? Oh no, that actual tragedy. And
you stayed 2 inches in front of your nose.
Showing up.
You showed up.
Showing up.
And you stayed 2 inches in front of your nose.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, before we leave balance sheet and move on to P&L statement and some strategies, does it make sense? Because this was something that Glenn helped me with, our good friend Glenn Thomas, who our longtime CPA and incredible friend and still incredible personal and business advisor today. Glenn, if you're listening, thank you, my brother. We wouldn't be sitting here today having this discussion if you didn't instigate it with us, both of us. One of the things he helped me with a long time ago was this idea of an off-balance sheet item to consider. And this especially was helpful for me when my balance sheet wasn't as healthy. My personal net worth statement wasn't as healthy as it is today. And it's kind of like what you've reiterated even more recently about, as we make investments in the business, we always have opportunity to make more money. as an entrepreneur whose confidence is at an all-time high, I feel very secure about our ability to create more wealth going forward. I wonder if there's a way to create an off-balance sheet calculation, almost like a present value of future wealth that can be created, right? As long as I'm alive and healthy, what I can do over the next 10 years in my career, in my business, has to be worth something on a balance sheet today, right? Present value of a future sum.
Sure.
Is that something? I mean, how would one even begin? I mean, you got the big, beautiful CFP brain in the room. So tap into that left side for a second. And how would one start without the HP calculator that you and I use with clients?
Right.
How would one just start to get an idea if my business has $1 million in profit now, and I have a growth rate of 8 to 10% a year,
Right.
and I want to calculate the present value of that future growth just for the sake of protecting my own confidence, a little off-balance sheet thing, or improving my confidence. How would one look at that?
There's a lot of things you could do in a spreadsheet.
Okay.
But if you have a business that has been consistently profitable,
Sure.
I mean, you're wading into the deep end of a pool that is going to be a lot of future episodes. I mean, a lot of future episodes. So I can't do it justice in the time that we have allotted today, but
You're a great teeer-upper, though.
Oh, I'm a great teeer-upper.
So feel free to teeer-upper here.
Used to be a 5 handicap. I'm in a chronic state of decay with my golf game right now, so
that's okay.
Who knows? I shot 90 on Sunday.
Nice. You're starting to get like me.
That doesn't move the handicap, though.
No, it's a value golfer right there.
Anyway, going back to your Enron off-balance sheet stuff, the way you would look at something like that is, I mean, there's no simple answer.
Okay. I wouldn't imagine.
There's no simple answer. But if you have a business that is consistently profitable over a span of, let's say, 5 years,
yeah,
right? You don't have a sparkler where you have a spectacular. I mean, you're going to have to normalize all that stuff, right? Which is just bring it back to a
nice
more consistent
growth rate,
whatever the number is. And you're looking at that consistent profitability, depending on your industry, and this gets very, very industry specific. You can then start to look at some potential multiples of what that might be worth in the private market. Whether it was a strategic buyer, whether it was a private equity firm, whether, whatever it might be in terms of a business value, but there's so much that goes into assigning that multiple, right?
So, okay.
If you've got a lifestyle business where it's really dependent on you, your partner, your partners, and you're having a good time and you're making money and there's really not a lot of backbone, there's really not a lot of structure. You haven't invested in people, and you're just
side hustling.
You've got a very good lifestyle, and the income that goes with that. That asset really isn't that transferable,
right?
And we haven't really talked about it on the show yet. But I've been swimming in the deep end of the pool with this group called the Exit Planning Institute, and recently have embarked on a whole credential with them to learn a particular methodology on how you go about looking where your business is today in terms of value and having a very honest conversation with yourself and your partners on all of these different metrics that you would use to assess the readiness of the business. But then more importantly, and this is right in our sweet spot, God bless America, is both personally and then financially. So I'm leaving the business readiness over on one side. I'm crossing the aisle and saying, how prepared are you personally for life after the business, let alone your personal finances and the plan, all the planning work that goes into that, right?
Sure.
I mean, the statistic that I think I've said before, but I'll say it another 100 times, is 75% of business owners from this EPI state of owner readiness from a couple years ago, 75% of all business owners regret the transaction 1 year after they've sold the business.
Yikes.
And it has nothing to do with money.
Of course.
It has to do with the lack of personal planning on what they're going to do.
Personal preparation.
And that is right in our sweet spot with Wealth with a Y and what we like to call Life 3.0.
Yeah.
So that is a 1,000-word almost answer to your question. But the other thing that I know I'm guilty of this, is most business owners overestimate what the value of their business is worth. And this process, this methodology that we're going to talk a lot more about in coming shows, really helps to start looking at the concept of exit planning as not in the future, but something you're doing now. It's a preparedness conversation, right? And how do you create more value? I know as a business owner, I have focused, in retrospect, I've focused too much on income, on net income to the business. Not in the sense of being shy of making investments, right? God bless Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach. I've learned long ago not to look at everything as an expense, but to look at things as investments.
Sure.
And I've also been able to translate that into the personal life in terms of how we spend money as a family. I look at it as an investment in certain cases versus a traditional expense.
Oh, you've almost eliminated traditional expenses because anything you're using money for is an investment in something.
Because it's intentional.
Right.
Right? It goes back to our favorite, be intentional with your money.
Yeah.
In this context, you can start to look at it and apply a very small multiple. Like let's say you've got a business that's making $1 million.
Right.
Put a multiple of 2 or 3 on it.
Okay.
Don't get any more excited than that.
Okay.
Could it be worth a lot more? Could it be worth 10, 12, 15 times your earnings?
Sure.
And there's a whole process to looking at the actual earnings of the business, because really there's 2 numbers, right? There's your tax number that your CPA and your CFO.
Your earnings that you pay taxes on.
That number.
Right.
And then there's the real number.
The number after taxes, right? Okay.
The number that comes from having the pleasure and benefits, gift and grace of owning a business. So your car, your gas, your internet, some meals, some entertainment, those are items that ultimately have to be reviewed and assessed and added back to that profit number, because if a clinical third party is coming in to buy that business, those are what are called add backs. You got to put that back in that $1 million profit number.
Right. Because
you're
they're
paying the tax on
me.
that. You're paying that tax on the $1 million number. That's
Right.
your tax number.
Right.
But what's the real number?
Right.
When you add everything back? And
So you
are,
add
are you overpaying your salary? Are you underpaying your salary?
Right.
We have situations where we'll see a business owner that's paying themselves $1 million a year as president and CEO, but really, if you do some homework on their industry, it's really a $300,000 a year position.
Right.
So they're overcompensating themselves.
Is that a bank error in your favor when it comes to valuing the business, or is that a bank error not in your favor?
That is in your favor because you're overpaying, right? So your expenses for the business are being reduced, $700,000 add back. Right?
Okay.
And we've seen, cases where CPAs have recommended that the owners keep their salaries very low for the purpose of trying to minimize FICA and FUTA.
Sure.
But really, they're, I've seen them as low as $40,000 and $60,000.
Wow.
And it's the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business that position would be a $300,000 job, $400,000 job, and they're paying themselves $60,000 in a W-2.
Right. Salary. Right.
So then you got to adjust for that. So
Sure.
anyway, it's a very long-winded way to say the lifestyle business, there's a lot of work to do to make it a legit transferable asset.
Right.
That you could sell to somebody. But certainly if you've had profitability consistently for a long time, it's going to be worth something.
Okay, can I let a little secret out now?
Sure, yeah.
Guess what, tribe? What the whole wealth journey is for entrepreneurs and what we're trying to help them do is get prepared for that day, for what's next, for Life 3.0. And there's the business side of getting prepared and understanding what goes into that transaction. And then there's the personal side of going into that transaction and not being one of those freaking statistics of 75% of the people who regret the transaction after the fact, and it has nothing to do with money.
That would be our mission, folks.
That is the mission.
And it takes time. We meet folks all the time that are burned out or they're tired from the slog of running the business. And
Hello?
Yeah, we've been there. Yeah.
You and I have both been there. Come on.
And they
That's
want
part
out.
of it.
They want out now.
Right.
This year.
Right.
This isn't a this year conversation.
Well, and part of what we've learned through our own journeys is it's not always about I want out now. How do we take a pause and reassess where we are and redirect so that we can recreate energy within this incredible mission we created 10, 15, 20 years ago? Sometimes it's just a little redirect. It's not always, I'm done, I'm tapping out, I'm burned out, I got to sell the business.
Right.
There are other options.
Right.
That's part of what we're here to give you in Wealth with a Y. If you haven't pushed pause yet to do the writing episode,
Probably now's a good time.
now is a good time. If the best time was 10 minutes ago, the next best time is now, because we don't want you to be a victim of these laws of diminishing intent, which will take you away from something you really want to do. So let's pause. Let's pause the conversation here.
I was on a roll.
I know, but let's give our tribe a chance to catch their breath and catch up with us.
Okay.
Okay? Because
All
we
right.
got a lot more to do with this idea of congruency.
We haven't gotten to the fun part.
Well, I think this is the fun part, but the really fun part is yet to come. So we'll be back with the second half of the conversation. We've covered the balance sheet. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the profit and loss statement. Then the big aha of what do we do with the data once we've got it. That and more coming up next on the Whole Wealth Journey. And with that, my friend,
That's a wrap.
thanks for joining us today on the Whole Wealth Journey. Whatever your path may look like, our purpose is to make sure that your way forward aligns with your core values and intentions. Are you ready to start planning for a future that's rich in wealth and well-being? Then click like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss a single episode of the Whole Wealth Journey.
So if we've struck a nerve with you today, where do people go?
You can find us at gebhardtwholewealth.com. That's GEBHARDT, wholewealth.com. And once you get there, make sure you connect with us so you can take the first steps to finding your why. We'll see you next time.
Jim Gebhardt is a registered representative of and securities offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Jim Gebhardt and Matthew Grishman are investment advisor representatives of Gebhardt Group Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, and Gebhardt Group Incorporated are not affiliated. The opinions in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or investment recommendations. To determine which investments or financial advice may be appropriate for you, consult a financial advisor prior to investing. Any reference to market performance is based on historical information, and there is no expressed or implied guarantee of future performance. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Gebhardt Group Incorporated does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.